Hey everybody, Matt here from Flight Sim Crew. Today we're going to look at how to fly an instrument approach and how to program the instrument approach in the TBM 930. Now the first thing I'm going to do is toggle this yoke off so we can see the controls a little bit better. Let's go ahead and zoom in here on the computer. Now there's a couple of ways to program the flight plan into the computer. And we need to make sure that we have an airport in there to find an approach. So we can either click nearest and then airport and then find the airport there, or we can go to direct and then type it in by putting it in there right there. So we'll just type in there K, where's H at? HZL. That's actually the airport we're at right now. We'll hit activate. And then if we click on flight plan, we'll see that it's created a little flight plan there with our destination. Alright, so if we click over here on PROC, that's procedure, and then approach, we can click in the center here, approach, and then select which one we want. We'll go back for now because we'll do that in the air. Alright, we are ready to go. Let's go ahead and take off. Full power. Alright, so this is what it's going to look like. We'll just take off, make a left turn, fly a downwind for a few miles, and then join this localizer approach from the east. This is what the approach looks like. It's the localizer runway 28 approach. And it starts at 4,200 or 3,200 depending on where you are. Alright, good rate of climb. Climbing out nice. This airplane performs really well, so we're going to make a left-hand turn here in just a moment. Climbing through 2,500, that's about 1,000 feet above the ground. We'll hand fly this for a little bit and then we'll turn the autopilot on. Basically, I'm just going to make a 180-degree turn and fly a downwind. We'll climb to 4,000 feet, or 4,200. Now, in just a minute, I'll show you how to program this approach in here. Also, looks like we have some ice accumulating. As soon as I level out here, I'll turn the icing equipment on. Pretty much out altitude right now. Okay, so let's see, where's my icing equipment? Oh, no, I'm sorry, it's down here. Here we go. Okay, so we've got airframe, icing lights, the prop, the windshield. All right, so everything's on right now. It'll take a little bit to take the ice off. And looks like we're right at the top of the clouds here, so we'll probably continue to get that ice unless we climb out of this or if the clouds disappear. Alright, so we're level at 4,200. We're on a nice downwind leg. Everything looks stable now. Alright, let's go over to the flight computer here and program everything in. Now if you click this button here, either in or out, it'll allow you to zoom in and out of your map. So we'll zoom in a little bit there. You can see the airport up in the upper left-hand corner. Alright, to program the approach, click Procedure and then Approach. And then if you click Approach here, you can select from the approaches that are available. And if there's transitions, you can find them there. And click Load and Activate. And you'll see this red or magenta colored line appear on the screen. Now what it's going to do is attempt to make a path to get to the initial waypoint. In this case, it drew a line and then a half circle to get to the initial part of the approach. So you click this center button and go back to the MFD home and then flight plan, and you can see all of the different waypoints in the flight plan. You click the down button over here to see all the different waypoints on the approach. Alright, let's say you want to go direct to a fix rather than fly this whole half circle. Just click on the fix in the flight plan and then click direct to. And then activate, and you'll see it draw a new line direct to the fix. And you can just keep doing that as many times as you want. Now make sure you know where the navigational data is coming from. It can come from either the computer, which is the GPS, that's called FMS in the nav source, or if it's coming from the frequencies, Nav1 or Nav2. In our case, we're using the FMS. Alright, let me come up here. I'm going to turn the flight director on. That's going to give us some more information on the primary flight display. And I'm going to hit Nav on the autopilot. That'll tell the airplane to turn back around and follow that course that we just put in. Let me go ahead and reset the heading bug indicator so it's aligned with the runway. 284 degrees. Let me go ahead and set the autopilot altitude. Now the approach plate specifies at Wagyu 3,200. We're going to set that in the altitude window and press the vertical speed button. And you can see the vertical speed over there, 1,000 feet per minute now. You can adjust it with the vertical speed scroll wheel. And we'll let that descend down to the appropriate altitude. Alright, we're about to go back down into the clouds. The airplane's still looking kind of icy. I noticed some ice on the wings. At least the windshield is better. A little bit over there on that wing as well. I think now that we've had the de-icing on for a while, the windshield should stay pretty clean on the way down. Alright, the autopilot is capturing the localizer now. You can see the turn on here. If you look at the heading indicator, you can see the purple magenta line with the arrow at the top, and then the vertical bar, which is slightly right of center. Let's go ahead and check the nav frequency to make sure we have the right one in there. The localizer is over here on the audio and radio tab, Nav1 110.5. That's the correct frequency for the localizer. So if we switch over the source to Nav1, we'll know that's going to be correct. Let's go ahead and do that. Go to the primary flight display home, change nav source to Nav1. You will also see that in the primary flight display active nav window. Go ahead and change the autopilot from nav to approach. In this case, this approach doesn't have any vertical guidance, and it's not an RNAV approach, so really that doesn't make any difference on this approach. If you're flying GPS, it's going to increase the sensitivity. If you have an approach that has vertical guidance, it will allow the aircraft to descend on the approach. Looks like we're coming out just below the clouds here, but I do see some clouds ahead, so I think we're going to come back into the clouds before we make it to the airport. Alright, let me go ahead and skip the video ahead a little bit until we get over Wagyu. Alright, now that we're over Wagyu, that's the final approach fix for this localizer runway 28. You can see that on the approach plate designated as the Maltese cross. That's the symbol for non-precision final approach fix. We're going to start our final descent. The approach plate specifies the minimum descent altitude of 2,280 feet. So we'll go up to the autopilot and set that altitude in the autopilot window, and then click the vertical speed button, and then click down on the vertical speed scroll wheel to start the aircraft into a descent, and then it'll capture that altitude. So let's set 2,300. Since the minimum descent altitude is 2,280, and the aircraft will descend all the way down to that altitude and capture it. Everything looks good here. We're right on course, descending now 1,000 feet per minute. I'm going to put the gear down. We'll slow the aircraft to approach speed. Alright, now the idea is we descend down to the minimum descent altitude. which is 2,280, and we should see the runway by the time we get to the missed approach point, obviously. If you look on this approach, at 1.9 miles is a visual descent point, so we should normally see the runway by then, but we don't have to go around until we get to the end of the runway. Alright, let's do a quick pre-landing checklist again. Flaps are down, gear is down. We are on course, descending now to the minimum descent altitude, 2,280, and we're waiting to see the runway. Now if we look at the primary flight display, it says we're at 1.4 miles. Normally we would have seen the runway by now. Actually, I just picked it up. So we are prior to the missed approach point, so autopilot is disengaged. We're a little bit high because we're beyond that visual descent point, but I see the runway. We're going to go ahead and land. So approach speed for this aircraft is 85, but we're just a little bit less than that. I'm going to leave it there since we're descending at a little bit steeper angle. Probably pick up a few knots in the descent. You can see over at the left side of the runway, the visual approach path indicator is white on the top and the bottom. That shows we're a little bit high. We'll try to descend down until we see red on the bottom two and white on the top two. Speed still looking good. Aiming for the touchdown marks. There we go. Red on top and white on the bottom. There we go. All right. Power back to idle and flare. All right, we made it safely down. All right, that's the localizer runway 2 approach to Hazleton Regional Airport. I hope you learned something today. Feel free to put any comments in the comment window, any questions, or if I did anything wrong, I'd love to hear your feedback. And don't forget, if you like this video, make sure you smash that like button, as they say, and consider subscribing so you get notified of any new videos that we put out. I'll see you guys next time.